Hi guys, we're here with another mukbang story time from Luis for you guys. We're having Veggie Mac. It's this homemade cheese sauce that I make. I made a recipe video for it a long time ago, but it's a little bit different because I put cashews in it. But if you guys are interested in what's in it, just let me know and I'll try to leave what I put in there in the description box, even though I didn't really measure. But if you want to know generally what's in it so you can try to remake it, you can. I think it's really good. I wanted to put broccoli in it, but I forgot to buy broccoli when we went to the store today. So we're having Veggie Mac and we're having everything Western bagels also, since I didn't have any veggies, just to add to it, because why not, right?
Right.
And Luis is really hungry, so get into it. And today's story is about
my third roommate.
Got a lot of roommates, babe.
4.
Is that including me?
Well,
do I count as a roommate?
Do you?
I don't know, do I?
Then you're my final roommate.
I've never had, well actually I did have roommates one time. It was not fun.
Was your ex?
Yeah. Hold on, I have to sneeze.
So I used to work at this hotel. The one I mentioned before. You have, thrill rides and observation decks or whatever. And somehow along the way during my tenure there, I ended up becoming kind of like a manager, right? And one of the policies was a member of management cannot date one of the employees, right? Which no one was adhering to. I want to get that very clear. No one was adhering to that policy. There were many things that were going on in that department. Anyway, so this is gonna be really awkward because I'm gonna talk about someone else. I met this person and she was, we hit it off, and we got along very well, and so we started dating. And we both of us, we knew about the policy that we weren't supposed to be dating, and I guess that added this whole element of us, trying to sneak around and steal glances from each other across the room while we were working. Anyway, eventually the higher ups discovered all this, and one day I was pulled to the side and I was told, hey, you know what, we know about this, don't worry about it, we're gonna go ahead and just fire her. And I said, no, you're not firing her, I'll quit. And long story short, I ended up quitting. But now I had nowhere, I can't stay at my place, and so one of my friends who worked with me there, he said, don't worry about it, you can come live with me. And so I took him up on that. So I didn't have that much stuff, so I moved in and I ended up staying in this place for a couple years. It actually turned out to be really good for me to be living in this place. The thing is, this guy, he had a very unique family. So when I moved into this house, it's pretty spacious, like 3 bedrooms, huge space, 2 baths. And so it was myself and my friend who worked with me at the time who offered for me to live there. His grandmother, her boyfriend, who was pretty much, because they never got married, but they were dating for like 30, 40, most of their lives. So my friend who I lived with, he called him Grandpa. And my friend's dad also lived there. So it was all of us in this house. And my friend's dad, he had a little bit of a drinking issue, but he was trying, the reason why he was at the house was because he was trying to get cleaned up. He was trying to get his life back together, and he was making some great strides towards that. He was, he got a job, he wasn't drinking, he was trying to be on a straight and narrow path. So I wasn't working at the time, and so my friend and I would spend our nights in the living room pretty much channel surfing. We start from channel 1, and I think at that time he had like 80 channels, and so one person would go through all the channels, and if we found something interesting, we would stay there for a little bit and continue. And then when we get back to channel 1, you pass the remote, and that person will then, channel surf a little bit. So one time, there we are in the living room, we're sitting there channel surfing, finding some things to watch, when all of a sudden, his dad walks in from the outside. He walks in, and you could instantly tell holy crap, this guy's been drinking, right? And I already know, because it's an issue, because his grandma, which is his dad's mom, has made it very clear, do not fall off the wagon. I better never catch you drinking. This guy was on his last leg, pretty much. If you screw up again, it's over, right? So he comes home drunk. And he's slurring, he can't walk straight. I don't know how he got home. I think he might have driven home, actually. And I'm looking at my friend, and my friend, great. So he's trying to get him together, trying to get him into this room, trying to wash his face, you know, when the grandmother shows up, who at this time should be sleeping. So now she sees the dad drunk like a skunk, right? And so, red in the face, you can see it in her eyes. She's just, this woman is beyond angry. She's in a completely other dimension, right, of pure rage. And so she looks at him, starts yelling at him, pushing him, grabbing him and shaking him. And, you know, he's trying his best just to defend himself a little bit. She walks away. She goes into the back room to her room. And my friend sits next to me on the couch. His dad is still standing, best he could. And my friend tells me, look, whatever's about to happen, don't move. Just stay on this couch. And I'm asking him, what's about to... She comes out. She has two things in her hand. A small gun in one hand, and in the other hand she has a box of ammunition. And so she's trying her best to get a bullet out, and she's yelling at the dad, yelling, and he can't put two and two together, but eventually he does, right, as she's loading the gun. So he tries his best to get out of the front door. He's fumbling. He can't figure out how to unlock the door. Eventually he figures it out. He scrambles outside. Meanwhile, she chases him now with a gun. So now she's outside. And two things that I'm going through. A, I want to get into our room, because we shared a room when I was living with him. I want to get in there and just close the door and just watch TV every time none of this is happening. But number two, I want to go out there and look. I want to go see what's going on, right? But I didn't have to, because you could just hear it.
What's it called? Chismoso?
Chismoso. And I wanted to be a chismoso. That's being like a nosy person. But you don't have to look out, because you could hear it. She's yelling at him. She's telling him to run. She's telling her son to run, because I'm about to shoot your ass, right? But, you know, but she's I'm not a tall person. How tall am I?
5'7".
I'm 5'7". So she's shorter than me. Maybe I would say 5'4" or 5'3". Short person. Very petite. And so she's telling him to run, and one round is fired. Okay? Great. Does she shoot him? What's going on, right? So now my friend and I, we get up from the couch, we're going outside, and she's trying, it's dark, you know, it's like maybe it's way past midnight, but she's trying her best to aim it, and he's running a little bit, he's tripping over himself. She fires another one. So now my friend, he's telling Grandma, they're gonna be calling the cops, don't do this. Anyway, so she hands my friend the gun, and she tells him, well, then you do it. And she goes back into the house.
What?
Right? So my friend has the gun, looks at me, go get my dad. So now he's going to, meanwhile, you can hear police sirens. Because she fired 2 rounds. Police sirens, so now the cops are coming. So I'm trying to help his dad to get back into the house. Meanwhile, he goes, my friend who has the gun now, goes into our room and pretty much, you know, under the bed, just stashes it. Gets the bullet box, stashes it. Cops come, tries to ask us, you know, what happened, this and that. My friend did all the talking. I just sat there and I watched. And that was the last time his dad drank. After that, that was it. If he needed something to convince him you're not drinking anymore, that night I think was his night where he decided I'm done.
Rock bottom.
I'm done. Yes. So he, after all that, you know, after the altercation, after her firing a gun at her son, the next day, never happened. Never happened. We were all the next day. She was cooking breakfast. His dad, myself, my friend were sitting at the table, drinking coffee, and his dad was talking about this new security job that he had an interview for. And like it never even happened. She was talking to him, he was talking to her. And I ended up staying there for like 2 years, 2.5 years, living with them.
Loco.
And that's it.
Baby, you've had some crazy freaking life experiences.
I've aligned myself with peculiar people.
Yeah, to say the least. You're like a magnet for bad.
For drama.
Well, yeah, I guess. It hasn't been as bad since you met me, but...
No, things have slowed down.
But there's always something, still.
And I think, unless I start delving a little deeper into my own stuff, like my personal stuff, this is like my last story. I don't really have any anymore.
Yeah. You can tell we only have like mini stories. Like, what about the times that people showed you like knives on your way to work and stuff like that?
When I used to walk home, I spent 7 years without a car here in Vegas, and so I took buses or I walked to and from work. And twice, one man stopped me to show me a knife, like if I wanted to buy it or just to look at it and appreciate it. And the other, these are years apart. And the second person, with a knife, he was holding it, and he looked at me, and he acted like he was coming right at me with this thing. Like he started to, I want to say rush, but he was starting to pick up some speed to come after me. And I looked at him, and I just said, no. And he stopped. And he just went the other way. And I kept my eye on him, but I just continued walking home.
So weird that he just stopped.
Yeah.
Lucky for you.
No. Yeah.
Like, stop, you're crazy right now. Get out.
I didn't say all that. Get out where? We're already outside.
Get the away from me.
Oh.
Stop the crazy.
I was kind of like you with that person with a gun when you were a kid.
It wasn't a gun, it was a knife.
Oh. At the treehouse?
Yeah, I have really bad memories, but there was this one time. It was when I was under the age of 9, because it was when I lived in Germany. And it was on the Air Force Base where I lived. And me and my friends were just like riding our bikes around the neighborhoods, and we went to this, the way that it was is like, we all lived in really tall apartment buildings. They were like 4 or 5 stories high, and they were really long. And so there'd be 4 apartment buildings in a square, and every block had 4 apartment buildings in a square. And in the middle, in the back of each set of apartments, there was like a huge park, playground in between every set of the neighborhood, or like forest. Like it was like filled with trees, and like the one behind our apartment building had like a playground, and the one across from us had like different things. Like the one across from us had a tire swing, which mine didn't have, and like all of them were kind of different. So we kind of went down the street and up the block one time to go to one that we hadn't been to before, me and my friends. And I don't remember how many people were with me, but there was a couple people with me, at least 2. And we were riding our bikes, and we decided to go into this one. And this one, for some reason, you had to go down like kind of a steep hill to get into the backyard. And then it was just full of trees. And I don't remember if there was a actual park in the middle of that one, but there was a tree house. And so we went down the hill with our bikes, and we were coming close to the tree house, and there was some boys in the tree house, and they started yelling at us like, why are you here? Why are you down here? You shouldn't be back here. You can't have our tree house. This is our tree house. This is our territory. Next thing I know, the kids are climbing down the ladder of the tree house, and one of them we see has a knife. He's coming after us with a knife. So me and my friends like scream, turn around with our bikes and run as fast as we can. And the hill was so steep. It was so hard to get our bikes back up the hill to the street. But we were so freaking terrified that somehow we made it up the hill with our bikes and got the freak out of there and never looked back. And I never went back to that. I never went back to that neighborhood again, ever again. And I never told anyone, which is weird. Like, I never told my parents.
And was your dad military police?
Yeah, I never told nobody. So nothing ever happened about it, and I couldn't even, I mean, back then, I don't even know if I could have even back then told you what the kids looked like, because I was just so, like, terrified.
So it happened so fast.
Yeah, and it happened really fast, so I don't know what they looked like. I just remember somebody chased me with a knife when I was a kid, and so that was pretty scary. I also, well, I did have someone chase me with a gun before too, but I don't remember all the details for that either. All I remember is my friend had a punch buggy, a Volkswagen Bug, that we used to always drive around Las Vegas in, and she took me somewhere with her and my other friend, so there was 3 of us. She took me to a party or something, I don't remember. She took us to a party or somewhere out in the desert. I can't remember. And somebody got mad at her, or she saw something she wasn't supposed to see, and then I guess I didn't see it, so I don't know for sure. She said the guy had a gun. She made us run and jump back into her car and took off, and the guy jumped in his car and started chasing us. So I'm freaked out. I'm in the back seat, and I'm like laying down in the back seat, because I'm like, if he has a gun and he shoots, I'm in the freaking back seat. I'm gonna get freaking murdered. So I was just laying down in the back seat, and she was driving so crazy. And it was one of the, an old, you know, an old vintage like Bug. It didn't have a seatbelt in the back. So I'm like sliding back and forth across the freaking back seat because there's no seatbelt. And yeah, I just remember running, trying to get away from that car until we eventually lost them and got away from them, and just thinking, oh my God, I might get freaking shot tonight. And I don't even know why. I don't even know what happened. Like, I don't know why the guy was chasing us.
Going with the wrong crowd, my love.
Yeah, and then that was the only time that happened, but it was scary.
Well, then that concludes our mukbang story times.
Well, I mean, I can tell you like stuff that's unrelated, like stupid things I thought as a kid, which I know is a Jenna Marbles type thing that I got it from her, where she's like stupid things that I used to think when I was a kid. I only really have 2 though that I could think of. One of them was I thought if you swallowed apple seeds, like a tree would grow in your stomach and kill you and you would die. Actually, I have 3. And I also thought a great I also thought that a great white shark was gonna come up out of the bathtub and eat me. So I was afraid to take baths.
Not showers, but baths.
Yeah, just baths. And then somebody scammed me when I was a little kid. When we lived in Germany, again, under the age of 9, one of my neighbors scammed me. She had this little thing. It was just a round thing of fur. And she convinced me that it was a living creature, that it was an animal, and that if I gave her money, she would buy me one. She would ship off to get me one, and I would have a little furry pet thing. And I believed her, and I think I gave her money, and I never got one, ever.
Oh, that's rich.
Are you still laughing about the bathtub?
Yes.
I was a kid, that's what I thought. You didn't have any things that you believed when you were a kid that were really stupid?
No.
Liar. What? Are you serious?
Well, I mean, you know, you always hear, don't swallow gum or else it'll stay in your system for 7 years, you know?
Yeah.
And I believe in that completely.
I think everybody's heard that one.
Mm-hmm. Have we talked about our ghost story?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Not together, but I told it before.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to hear the story time of when we used to live with the ghost, you could watch that. I'll link it here somewhere. And it's really old, but the story hasn't changed. So I guess that's it. We're out of story time. So if you guys have any ideas, leave them down in the comments. If there's some certain thing about our life you want us to talk about, let us know. Because as far as we can think of, we're out of interesting stories to tell you guys. It's been fun, but it's pretty much over.
And my time is over.
Exit stage left.
Yep. It's back to you now.
I guess. Alright, so that's it. Thanks for watching my little broccoli bites, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye!
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Boom.
I'm done.
This bread is too dry. I need some more sauce.
I'm done. My cameos are over.
Do you like this?
I do.
I love it.
You know what you should have done? Put hot dogs in there.
I don't really like those hot dogs though, unless they've been marinated.
Of course not.
I wanted broccoli. I need to buy broccoli. Now I can scarf down the rest of my noodles.